Hey everyone, welcome to this masterclass edition of our UAC podcast with Dr. Justin Brown. Dr. Brown is an upper cervical specific chiropractor who's built a tremendous clinic in the Miami area and now is scaling multiple clinics around the US inside this niche of upper cervical chiropractic. So we're going to really dig down on how's he created the infrastructure, the foundation to start to scale. How's he approaching this? Really interesting episode if you've ever considered running multiple clinics and scaling beyond one practice, or if you're an upper cervical practitioner who's trying to figure out another path. This is going to be a good podcast for you. Enjoy. Everyone, welcome into the UAC Masterclass podcast for the month of November. And we have a doc I've known for almost my whole career, probably about 20 plus years. I don't know if you don't look old enough, Justin, to practice that long, but I'm pretty sure we met when I was with CJ WLP in my early days, and that was 22 years ago. So that's when we crossed paths, and I think you were maybe just out in your first practice trying to figure it out, and you've now been in UAC, you and Michelle, for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years, probably. And it's just been neat to watch this evolution as you've taken this really successful clinic and a CrossFit gym this is what I remember from UAC. And now you've evolved to this model where you're starting to scale up your niche of clinics with upper cervical clinics. So I guess the first question, Justin, is give us a little of the evolution of how'd you get going on your first clinic? How did you niche down and find success there? And then let's take that down to how you decide to start scaling that and how that's going.
Yeah, appreciate it, Alan. It's awesome to share with all the UAC members. Yeah, it's a wild journey, man. Yeah, it's been 20 years. So just last month, 20 years in practice, and went from an associateship of 2.5 years out in Seattle to opening practice here in South Florida, and really build our practice on screenings and hitting the road and a lot of grassroots efforts. And full page ads in the newspaper, if you can imagine.
Oh, I remember that.
You ever do the killer ads? Killer ads, man.
They work, Kissler. They was. I wonder why they don't. They might still work. I don't know, but I think about them often.
Yeah, I don't know who reads newspapers anymore. But point being is, we grew and it was good to start hiring associates and build that practice, moved that practice to a better location. Really had maybe at that point 10 to 15 associates that we had through the office at that time. They'd stay for about a year or two, and then they'd move on. And then they'd really go set up these great practices around the US, which was cool, but it was exhausting because it was basically this constant process of attracting, training, hiring. It's just as soon as they'd like really start getting super productive in the practice, they were moving on. And we were like, hold on, this isn't maybe a very sustainable model moving forward. But ultimately, we trained, at this point, we've trained over 30 associates in our main clinic. So we've had a track record of really helping a lot of docs, but we ended up acquiring a couple practices. We acquired a full spine practice. We practiced NUCA, upper cervical, but we acquired a practice and had a satellite office. And we did that for about 5 or 6 years. But essentially we didn't recreate the same exact model that we had built successfully in our main clinic. So what we learned, Alan, was that scaling requires duplication of successful processes, procedures, and a model that's been proven. And we tried to basically say, oh no, we've been really successful here. Let's just try something a little bit different over here. And it didn't work. We implemented probably 30% of what we were doing. And we got about 30% of the productivity. So it just really wasn't successful. We did sell those and that was a happy story, but we just learned a lot through that 5 to 6 year period. And then beyond that, we ended up taking our main clinic. We got really focused on getting our systems locked in, standardizing across the board. And we ended up buying a 10,000 square foot building and building that out as our HQ. I just knew that, okay, we learned some things. This was 2022. We made the move. we ended up really kind of solidifying all the systems, getting all the SOPs locked in, everything dialed in, and then ultimately kind of building out the team that allowed me to step out of practice. Essentially, I still see people 4 hours a week, but it's really given us this opportunity to take our top performers, help them up level into clinic director positions or retention positions. So basically get really clear about the roles of everybody in HQ. And then from that point, once we
Justin, hold on there. Let me unpack that a little bit more before we go on to the scale. Um, so first of all, what I think I'm hearing that's really brilliant is there's a path of growth for your docs. It's not just an associate for the rest of your life. You're here. Can you tell me a little more? Well,
that literally knows the word associate.
that's great. That's great.
Yeah, because there's a pathway forward. There's an ascension for everybody, including our office manager, who just has a team. She has a team of people she manages. And then she has teams in other locations that they manage. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but 100%. So once people got once we got clear and we could convey that clarity to each of our team members, they got so much better at their role.
Yeah.
They just got so much better. So people want to know what to do. And then when we kind of got a really clear on, okay, what are the metrics that we're measuring these people on? We got really clear in our media rhythms and our scorecard rhythms, running traction. And then essentially getting all of those pieces together. And then I got really clear on, hey, what is this big, hairy, audacious goal? What is the vision for everybody? Why do people show up for work? And is that a compelling vision? So I wasn't casting the vision very well. I wasn't super clear on what every person, needed to be doing. I wasn't super clear on the roles. I didn't have accountability systems in place. So what became super clear to me is I had to up level my leadership in order for the entire organization to grow.
I tried to scale in the where'd you go to do that? Did you
So I was in Ohio. So yeah, I was in EO for many years, and I was around people running 20 to 40, $60 million companies. And I just kind of saw the way that they thought. They think different, right? And I saw what is their day to day? What's the day to day of a real, of a true CEO? What's the day to day of somebody that, has 100 people underneath of them? And so you just kind of get around different groups of people, and you start to learn some things. And then I really had some like supernatural relationships come into play. I've become good friends with a guy who took, I'm not going to say his name, but he took dentistry, and he basically was the very first person that took dentistry public and then bought his company back and then sold it to private equity. And he ran that whole thing, and he's become a good friend of mine. And another guy in the dermatology space that, is up to 85 clinics, mega, private equity backed. And then, people in the insurance world doing roll-ups, multiple friends there, and then these investment bankers. And so I'm just been very fortunate to have these people that have come into our orbit that I have different conversations with. And so that's really changed my headspace. It's really changed the wavelength of what I'm thinking day to day. And so getting back to granular, it was just like really being a better leader, ultimately being a better leader for my people. And just like taking my time, like elevating my time to just developing my people so that they could develop their teams. So we got really clear on our org chart. We got really clear on, what's the best and highest use of our time day to day. And then what can we do to put systems in place that everybody's kind of getting this value out of being in our company, to where everybody is, they have a clear path for growth. So everybody sees that there's steps forward for their growth. They see the trajectory.
Justin, is the growth path contained within the headquarters, or is it also you can go out now as you start scaling and run another clinic or oversee other clinics? Was that part of that, or is it separate?
It is part of it. Yes.
Yeah.
So it is part of it. So we have team members now in HQ that manage other directors and other office managers outside of HQ, but we also have a managed service organization. So we have a CMO, we have a CFO, we have a controller, I have an executive assistant. So what I've really done is, in being around these other executives, is realize like it really takes a team. So scaling takes a team and it takes a reinvestment. So where we used to just, auto invest in the market, we just auto invest in chiropractic. So we're really interested in putting our money where our mouth is, as far as like investing in teams of people that are going to help us scale our product and get it out to the masses, to the way that, we had this dream graduating 20 years ago, right? We're all going to change the world with chiropractic, but now it's like, how do you do that? Well, you have to invest massively in a team of people that are way better at these verticals than we are as chiropractors, right? Like my financial team can run circles around me looking at looking at balance sheets, looking at P&Ls, looking at the ins and outs of our cash flow. We have a teams of people that look at that for all the offices on a regular. And then they just report those things to me. So we have these people that are really like experts in those verticals that are working on the practices. And it just gives us this like distinct advantage over the competition.
That's awesome. I love it. So do me a favor, take me, if you're willing, share what the BHAG is, where's the target, and then so tell us where you're going, but then bring it back to, because I don't want to miss this. I think one of the most genius things of your scaling, you've touched on briefly, but you've really developed, I think from the beginning, a passion niche for upper cervical work. And I think that's really critical for people listening. You touched on with the full spine clinic, that wasn't congruent with what your core business was. And so I think as you reset everything in your systems and your procedures, it's based around your highest value of the best form of care you can give, which is an upper cervical doc, which I really think niching down to that world has given you a totally different lens to go then look for clinics, find partners. So kind of talk about where you want to go and then bring it back to that upper cervical side, and then kind of explain to us, how's that helping you scale, and what kind of clinics are you looking for, and how's that NUCA get you to where the BHAG is at?
Yeah, so the BHAG is really that we have a presence in like all major markets throughout the US. I mean, that's the BHAG. The BHAG is that we professionalize our product in a way that it becomes a household name, in a way that it represents premium chiropractic. We want to be the preeminent chiropractic brand in the US and potentially beyond. And
What's the name of the brand, Justin?
the name of the brand is Atlinea.
Alinea.
Atlinea. And so the vision is that we take, this product and we make it, first of all, known, right? Because 2025, like, people still don't really know our product.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't really they may have some idea of what we do, but if you interview 100 people, you're gonna get about 90 different ideas around that. So the idea is to really have this preeminent brand, this certainly this idea that people understand what is available. Like, well, what is it? Who's it for? That becomes really known across the U.S. But here in the next 5 years, the target's 33 practices and, really $125 million valuation. And so that's where we're heading here in the next 5 years. And it's critical. It's important, for us to take our rightful place in healthcare, for us to, we see these miracles in our offices, day after day, and we're still the best kept health secret, which I think is the worst tagline ever. We should be the best known health strategy. That's what we should be. So we're working on that. So, that takes a lot of great people and a lot of organization and professionalization. So that's what we're working on. Yeah, we feel like focus is a superpower. And so in staying inside of our niche, we're able to stay very focused on the product. We're able to keep consistency across the delivery of that product. It's not NUCA only. We are working with orthospinology docs. We're working with Blair docs. We actually acquired the original Blair chiropractic clinic, which has been in existence for over 75 years. And so it's pretty cool. Within 30 days, Alan, they just exceeded their best collection month ever by 35,000.
Wow. That is already all right. That helps you attract other clinics.
Well, that helps attract other clinics. Yeah. But there's a whole nother story. Maybe that's for a different masterclass. But the idea is that we're able to work with upper cervical docs. We do get a lot of interest from full spine. And I think that's a vertical that will probably be bolted on in parallel to what we're doing ultimately. I think that's probably what's going to happen. But right now, we really want to stay focused. It's easy to chase a lot of different things at the same time and have issues with that and not make the progress that we're looking forward to. So, Joe, there's no shortage of deal flow.
Sorry to interrupt you. I want to come right back to that, but my brain's going. I actually, as a principled chiropractor, full spine, I honestly don't. I know Bart and Grostic. I know Nuka. HIO. Can you give us just a quick orientation for a lot of chiropractors don't understand the different niches in upper cervical, and so I know there's a couple big upper cervical groups that are associations. Like I don't really understand the nuance of that landscape. Can you just take a minute to explain that? I bet I'm not alone with a lot of chiropractors. Like I know there's a lot of really specialized upper cervical adjustments. I know some of the highest. There's some group that like, yeah, they brag about it. I charge $5,000 for one adjustment and it holds the atlas for 6 months. But I really don't know a lot about that world. Can you unpack that just a little bit?
Yeah, I mean that's a definitely loaded question, but there's about I want to say about 15 different techniques in the upper cervical world.
Okay.
Specifically, you've got certainly Nuka, which is really the technique that we focused on. But you've got atlas orthogonal, which is an instrument adjustment. So Nuka is a hand adjustment. We're looking for orthogonality between the skull, the cervical spine, and the atlas. So essentially looking for a 90-90-90 relationship. And ultimately, upper cervical is just simply looking at the relationship of the skull over top of the C1, C2, and its relationship to the rest of the spine. Under the premise that you've got the neurology that's richest and most important to the function of the entire being, and to the extent that there's any type of a subluxation at that level, there's influence throughout the entire body. So it's completely in alignment with our chiropractic philosophy. The science requires a specific analysis of the head position over the atlas, biomechanical understanding of that pathway of subluxation, the reverse engineering of that pathway. So it's looking at the measurements. So there's specific analysis that we use cone beam CT. So we're actually using 3-dimensional analysis to analyze that area, which is amazing technology. We have that in 2 of our offices, and a third office where you're using DR, digital X-ray. But essentially, we're looking at anywhere between 7 to 15 different anatomical and subluxation or misalignment measurements that all go into essentially an algorithm that give us an angle upon which we are going to direct the adjustment. So based on the position of the pattern of subluxation, determines the position of the patient placement and also the doctor placement. So we put all those pieces together. We direct that adjustment at that patient's specific pathway and then do post measurements. We actually post X-ray or post CT scan people to confirm or deny the fact that we've accomplished the subluxation correction. So there's a little bit more to it, but that's essentially
That was a beautiful explanation. Blair and Grostic, what are their approaches in that?
Grostic's very similar to Nuka. Grostic, there's not a big group of Grostic docs anymore. Most of them have kind of been absorbed into the Nuka work, but Grostic's very similar. I would say, a little more simplification of the pattern analysis. AO, Atlas orthogonal, advanced orthogonal, even orthospinology. Those are primarily instrument adjusting upper cervical techniques, but very similar in that the premise is that they want to get the skull and the cervical spine on vertical, and they want to have the atlas on the horizon. And essentially, that's the best environment for the body to be able to best, express, innate wisdom. So, that's the premise.
In Albuquerque, for years, I don't know if she still practices, Dr. Renee Russo. I think she was maybe, or she used a machine. But what I knew, Albuquerque is a small community. It was amazing how many patients came to us whose medical doctors had referred them to her.
Interesting.
Because of all the chiropractic techniques. For some reason, doctors really, MDs, she did a great job of educating them of what she did and why that relationship you just explained was so important. And I was always fascinated of any chiropractic technique that so many doctors in a small community really embraced what she did and referred people to her. And so what would end up happening in our clinics is we'd see the full spine people because she only adjusted Atlas. But it was remarkable to me. Just so I can appreciate when you talk about niching down to scale. And I've seen some of those cone beams. It's amazing what you guys do and how you can show the Atlas repositioning. And for chiropractors who love technical analysis, who love outcomes that are measurable, it's fascinating work. And I think you've got a niche there that's really interesting to hear how you're then using that to scale.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then we have Blair Clinic, which is a bit different. I mean, they're really looking at the condyles. And they're looking at the condyles of the skull over top of the condyles of the atlas, and so that their analysis is also a little bit different. Their adjustments a little bit different as well. There's a drop in that table. So yeah, we're very much really looking for people that, like you said, have this fascination with the upper cervical and have this true passion for practicing that way. But to your point, these tend to be the science heads. These tend to be the analytical types.
Yeah.
And so some of these people that are just so technically gifted can struggle in practice.
Yeah.
Which to me is a travesty because I know their quality. I know the impact they can make if they got more people on their tables. And so we can deliver that to them. We can deliver those systems to those people. We can deliver the business. We essentially call it business in a box because we have these teams of people that can deliver the patients. We have very simple systems. So our word of the year is simplification. Everything we do, we just work to try to chip it down and chip it down and chip it down and simplify. So everything goes through a lens of like, is this simple? Is this scalable? If I didn't know a thing and I walked in tomorrow, could I learn that in 30 minutes and apply it immediately? And that's kind of like our filter for everything at this point.
Genius.
Yeah. But going back to your point, yeah, there are a lot of upper cervical doctors, and certainly docs inside of our organization that do have professional referrals that, it is one of the streams for, new patient acquisition is that it's pretty cool when you get, 5 to 10 patients from docs locally.
Yeah.
And they're just ready. You know that, Alan. When that doc comes from a neurooptometrist and that neurooptometrist who's a specialist says, you need to go see this specialist, they come with their credit card in hand. They're just ready to roll. And it's really unique that we get that. I don't tend to, I'm a bit of oil to the water for the medical doctors, but otherwise, but a lot of our other doctors that can speak that language and nurture those relationships, yeah, we're all for it. In fact, like we're sending out gifts to a bunch of docs right now, for just, in gratitude of the referrals that they've sent to our offices.
That's neat. So how are you going to scale this? How do you find upper cervical practices? And I think you touched on it, but I'll let you formalize it. What's the benefit to one of these practices partnering up and joining forces with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, the first benefit is just being part of a group. I mean, actually having a team. We just had 8 of our docs in Chicago last weekend, and the conversations, the synergy, it's just different. I mean, it's awesome when you go to a chiropractic seminar and you have conversations and you maybe kind of talk about your challenges, but when you can do that inside of an organization, it's just different. The depth of the conversation and the true, just the genuine willingness to kind of like lend a hand and help raise those people up is palpable. And so being a part of a team, being a part of this organization that has this vision that's compelling, we're really, working to, change the landscape of chiropractic, and that's contagious. So I would say the first part is like people that just really love being a part of a team, love being part of a clear vision. That's the first piece. The second piece is that, and we find this over and over again, is that the docs that have been out for 20 plus years are the ones that have a little more wisdom. They have a little bit more scar tissue. They've been through some things and they kind of know the future isn't great for them having an exit. They know that the transferable value of their practice, if they're in that practice more than a few days a week, it's just not very good. It's not very high. And I've just seen this as a problem. So the problem we're solving is that we're actually, by coming together, able to give people real value for their practice. And without kind of getting into details, they can get anywhere between 2 to 5x or more what they could get on the market.
It's great.
So we have a real plan in place for that to happen, which I think is the least that, docs that have been serving their communities for 20, 30, 40 years deserve in
Absolutely.
exchange for this practice.
Yeah.
Beyond that, they're getting a team of professionals. So they get my consulting. I've been coaching for 10 years. I love developing chiropractors, helping chiropractors, see more in themselves than they've ever seen in themselves before, creating inspiration and getting headspace clear and building value. I love building value for chiropractors and helping them realize the power of what they're providing the public. And then just really, sharing our systems and giving them our playbook and then the accountability systems, our meeting rhythms, and all of those elements. And then our just our C-suite of people, our CMO, our controller, like we can deload and de-stress that practice so that they can just get locked in on taking care of their people. And, like focus is a superpower. If they can get super granular and be these true, genuine advocates for their patients, we become like super unique in how well we can deliver chiropractic. We can really like go deep with our patients, and that makes our product sort of incomparable in the marketplace. So we can de-stress these practices, take off payroll, take off finances, take off taxes, take off compliance, take off like, so and then we're just able to fund them. So a lot of these practices are just not funded properly to be able to have the growth that they need, or they just they shuffle money off the marketing agencies and praying that they're going to get quality leads, which we've all been there. We've all done that. That's expensive, especially if you do it over 10 or 15, 20 years in a row. So we just have experts that we've been able to vet in all these different areas that all contribute synergistically towards growth. And that's what's proven to be true.
How many clinics are you guys at now, Justin?
So we have 3 and we'll have 6 by the end of the year. So
Right.
it's growing pretty quickly here. And we've really just started acquiring as of March.
What are you finding is or predicting is going to be your biggest couple bottlenecks as you go down this path? And what's the game plan to work around them?
Yeah, I mean, so there's obviously there's massive investment involved. HR and recruitment is certainly nonstop, and that's a piece of it in that we are niche down. So it's part of our success that we're niche down, but it's also part of our challenge. So our goal is to really attract those super high quality students, those high quality docs into the organization. And part of it is also just, ego. Ego is the enemy. Docs really are scared to let go of some of the control for whatever reason. And even if the future looks way brighter, it's clearly there on paper, ego is the enemy. And so, if we can get people over themselves and they can see, gosh, look, this guy's doing amazing. He's doing way better than he's ever done. This guy's doing better than he's ever done. They have vacation time, they have coverage, they have systems, they have a team of people working on their business nonstop. Like if people can kind of get over this concept that it's about them, which it never really was, right? But if they can get over that concept that it's about them, then man, it's like there are greener pastures ahead. And so that's really the only thing I would say. But the cool part is like we don't have to change the name of these practices. They get to kind of keep their name on the door. For all intents and purposes, they get to roll forward business as usual from the patient's perspective. The difference is that everything just runs more smoothly. Things run better. We are able to put in our financial system. So we kind of have some secret sauce around that. And with that, just growth is inevitable.
That's awesome. It's yeah, it's fascinating I was in a CEO group for many years called Vistage, which is similar to an EO. And I remember when I joined Vistage, the lady that ran it, Janice, saying, "Are you lonely right now?" And I was and I said, "What do you?" Yeah, actually, it's funny. It's very isolating. And a lot you've been part of chiropractic communities through upper cervical, through UAC, through different coaching programs. A lot of chiropractors never plug into those. So they're just this lone wolf. And I think a breath of fresh air with what you guys are doing comes along, and people just don't realize that camaraderie, that you're not alone, those systems. There's a lot of value in that for a doc who's just in their head trying to make ends meet, not sure where to go. They've got this North Star with the science behind what they're doing, especially in upper cervical, but it doesn't mean the business is quaking. I think there's a real niche there, a real opportunity to serve a lot of people.
We hear that a lot. Like people say, I just feel like I'm on an island. Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm just on this island. Right. And we're just trying to figure out what to like, the plan for most chiropractors is just to have a good month followed by a good year. That's the plan. There's no plan beyond that. And that leaves, the vulnerability of the average chiropractic office is very high. There's a lot of vulnerability. And so there's single points of failure like across the board. And so super strong businesses don't have single points of failure. And for a lot of offices, the doctor is the single point of failure. Not to mention other systems that are there that could be improved. So yeah, we try to build redundancy, and yeah, getting back to your point, I mean, it's really powerful when you have a real team of people, when office managers can come together, when they can talk things through, you can just make better decisions, you can move faster. I mean, it's hard. Like if I ask a plumber, right? Hey, are you like the best plumber in town? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Are you the best marketer in town? Oh yeah, absolutely. Are you the best at managing your financials? Oh yeah, definitely. Are you the best at developing and training employees? Oh yeah, definitely. You'd be like, yeah, right, buddy. Like there's no chance. But that's what chiropractors do all the time. They're like, oh yeah, I'm the best marketer. I'm the best HR. I'm the best technically. I totally understand like what it means to like build a business and cast a vision and develop and train people to have a compelling future. Like there's no way you could be the best in class at all of that. Like there's just no chance. So like the challenge and why people don't often scale is that one, you typically have to, you don't have to, but you're going to probably take a financial hit because anybody that's like cranking in practice can be super profitable. And in order to scale, you have to step back and you have to allow other people to develop and grow. And you have to basically sacrifice some of your productivity and income to do so. And a lot of people are really scared to do that because we get fat cat syndrome. We're happy with our lifestyle. So that's the first piece. The second piece is you got to go and attract really high quality people that are top of best in class in these different areas, whether that's marketing. Now it's like even insurance. Like I'm grateful that I've got an awesome insurance guy because I've got a ton of insurance policies now and we're using one right now. So it's like you have to vet all these people. You have to spend time on these things. It just changed the wavelength of what you think about every single day is extremely different than that of which it is in practice. It's totally different wavelength. And it's a totally different education. Like I'm just educating myself all the time about this stuff, because I'm newer to it, right? Like I'm not a seasoned CEO of 20 years. I was a chiropractor really for 15 of those years. So it's really not until the last 5 years where I was really dedicating myself to getting a true education. I mean, I took a course from Wharton on M&A. Like I understand M&A fairly deeply now. I've probably read 12 books on M&A and reread them. So it's like you learn these things and then you can have different conversations. And it is lonely though. I'll tell you, like even in this world, it's lonely. There's a handful of people that are really doing this in our industry. Now it's being done in all these other industries. Of course, chiropractic just slipped into the game. So there's other people that we can learn from in other industries, which is what I spend a lot of my time doing right now. But it is a completely different education. It's a completely different thought process. It's just a very different thing, but it's super exciting. It's compelling, but it is challenging. There's a huge investment in legal. There's a huge investment in people. There's a huge, there can be a huge sacrifice in income, although that's short lived. But yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing. So kind of prior to us jumping on, you were like, hey, like, can we talk about your money model? And it's like, we are bootstrapped. So we are essentially investing back in chiropractic. We're in talks with an investor. We've had many investment groups, not many. We've had several investment groups come to us, but it's just too early, Alan. We're at a point where we're super nimble and flexible, but people, we're putting out quite a bit of social, and I think that people are kind of starting to notice what's going on, and particularly in the upper cervical world. But it's just kind of too early for us to take on money. And so we're totally doing this, bootstrapped, and so that's where we're at. But we're pretty close to taking on some level of investment just because we see it as strategic, and it's kind of someone that's in the industry that's fully bought in, that really has interest in seeing us succeed. So that's a whole nother
That is
series of questions.
absolutely. So just two questions to wrap us up. On the doctor, what do you call them? You don't call them associates. What's your term?
No, we simply just call them doctors. I mean, we have clinic directors, we have doctors, but each doctor in our org has a specific role.
Uh-huh.
So like we have doctors that are like completely focused on retention. We don't have any single doctor offices. So every office has redundancy, but it's basically we have clinic directors, and then we have office managers, and then we have our patient care coordinators, we have our new patient concierge, and then the DC, we call them DC2, essentially is what it is. It's a DC1, DC2. And then they just have a specific subset of priorities that they're focused on.
So a DC whose interest likes what they've heard in this, or an owner that's heard what they like in this, what would you speak to each sides of the fence, and how do they contact you?
Yeah, so the first scenario is a doc that's listening to this and they go, hey man, this sounds really cool. Like I'd love to learn and grow inside of an organization like this that's like really taking territory. I would say, yeah, reach out to me. Whether it's DM through Facebook, or it's even on any of the social medias, at Dr. Justin Brown, Instagram. But yeah, just connect with me, and we'd love to find out, what your goals are. We'd love to find out where you're going, what you're interested in. But we do want to attract the top talent. Like we'd really hate seeing we're losing chiropractors to kind of low quality chiropractic organizations, and we don't like seeing that. We want to have really top tier docs and give them opportunities to make great salary right out of the gate. And so we're providing that. We feel confident that with our systems and with our marketing and with our training, that we can get people producing very high rates of productivity within the first 6 months. So we're able to offer that, and like I said, we're kind of betting. We're betting on our systems. We're betting on chiropractors. The second scenario, which is docs that are, hey, maybe they've been 15, 20 years in practice or more, and they go, man, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. We hear that a lot. Or I don't know what's next. I've seen my buddies, they either close shop or they try to sell for years and get either a very low value or no value. What do we do? What do I do? I want to get max value before I get too tired, before I slow down and sort of let the practice sunset as I'm aging, which happens frequently. That would be the right time to talk to us. I mean, we certainly can talk to docs when it's sort of end stage. That's not our target avatar. Our target avatar is that 15, 20, 25 years in practice. They've got a good, strong practice doing 500K plus in revenue. And they want to be able to have a little more freedom and flexibility. They want to maintain their income levels or grow, but they just aren't sure how to do it. They've plateaued, or they're looking for what's next. And again, those are the people that like connect with us. We can help you. We have a real pathway forward for these people. It has not been demonstrated well inside of chiropractic, it's a travesty to see these people, either great practices close doors or these people just don't get the transferable value that they deserve. So we have a real pathway forward for those docs. And again, I would just say reach out. Servebigger.com, lays out some of the pathway. So the name of the org is Serve Bigger Collective. That's our umbrella company. That's not our patient-facing brand. But essentially go to servebigger.com, fill out the form, and we'll be in contact. We'll connect with you. We also, for upper cervical docs that have interest in this, we have a success summit coming up in Fort Lauderdale, January 16th and 17th on the beach, Fort Lauderdale. Not a bad place to be in January. And it's a real business seminar. So it's a real business seminar with business people coming to share with our team. So it's a bit of an internal event. We'll have our board meeting Friday morning, but beyond that, we're going to be sharing some really powerful AI technology with people. We're going to kind of pull back the curtain on some of what we're doing on an AI sense, which is really super exciting stuff. Some of the innovation, clinical certainty, marketing and financial, and really the relationship success that we've had, in the community with patients and with our team members. That is really the core essence of what we've built with Serve Bigger. So we're going to dive deep into that awesome lineup. But yeah, I mean, Alan, thanks for the opportunity to share, man. This is super fun. It's awesome. I'm looking forward to the events for UAC this year look outrageous. Whereas if you're excited, you got Beverly Hills, you've got Napa, right? You've got Italy,
Puerto Rico, Austin. Should be a fun year.
It's going to be a super, super year for UAC. So I'm excited to have these conversations with the docs that are also doing this. And there's a ton of people in UAC that are just further ahead than we are. So, I learn, man. I love being around you guys. I love learning from what you guys are doing with Genesis and all the success you're having in the decompression space. So, man, UAC is where it's at. There's so much knowledge. There's so much wisdom there. Access, entertainment, celebration, doing
Like what I love is I love the family part, Justin, and just watching your beautiful girls grow up and what your wife's doing on her own accord and the path she's blazing. And thank you for sharing today, brother. That was a great interview. I think a lot of people whose minds are trying to get around what does it take to scale. You gave them a really good look into all the work you've done and where it's going and looking ahead around corners. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of benefit out of this. Thank you, brother.
I appreciate it.
Have an awesome day, Justin. We'll see you.
Thanks so much, Al.
Thanks, man. Bye.